Well, we're here with another volunteer from Jazzfest, Tom Rooke. So tell me, Tom, how did you get involved with Jazzfest?
Well, that's a long story. Actually, I think I was at the very first jazz festival. And even before that, when Lyle brought in the Tommy Banks Orchestra, my wife and I attended that down at the Legion Hall. And then the Jazz Fest started shortly, I think the year after that. And we just kept going, my wife and I kept going, and then I said, you know, Linda, we should really volunteer for this, you know. So about 7-8 years ago, I said, well, I'm biting the bullet, and I'll see if they need me. Well, boom, they put me on the committee just like that. And I've been working with them ever since. Just a great pleasure.
How soon in advance do things happen to make this Jazz Fest possible?
Well, if you talk to Lyle, he'll tell you. I mean, he's probably already planning next year's. So that's as the producer, that's his responsibility and his great job that he does to start talking to the musicians who wants to come. He doesn't even have to beg anymore because people are sending in their resumes and their CDs and everything like that, saying pick me, you know. He puts together the show and tries to balance it for everybody who has different tastes in jazz, and because jazz is such a wide variety of different styles of music that you know, he tries to balance it out so there's something for everybody.
Okay, so you've been volunteering for a while, and as you mentioned, there's a bunch of different ways to get involved. What would you say to folks that are considering becoming involved and want to become a part of the volunteer family for Jazz Fest?
Well, one of the best ways is, of course, we usually call for volunteers, you know, and there's a number or something like that. It might even be on Shaw TV, you know. Give you a little plug there. But if you know somebody who's already volunteering, then ask them how they got involved. Our volunteer coordinator, Jessica Gray, she has a connection with friends, and we've had other volunteer coordinators. They usually start with their circle of friends and work outwards, you know. Or lots of times the people who have volunteered for many years, we know. We just phone them and they say, yep, I'm there this year, you know, and away we go. And there's so many different levels of volunteers. Festivals like this would not survive without volunteers because there is just so much to do. And we're a very, what would you call it, homebody kind of festival. The artists love to come here because we give them special treatment. We pick them up at the airport, we drive them 3 hours into Medicine Hat. We have home-cooked meals for them every night. We drive them anywhere they want in the city. So all those are done by volunteers. All the food is volunteered, all the you know, the preparation of the food, that's all volunteer. All the drivers are volunteering, you know. And there's people like we see tonight, ticket takers, people selling merchandise and things along that line. Those are all volunteers. And so people usually start where they're comfortable. Well, I would like to sell T-shirts. What do I have to do? Oh, go see Tom over there. He'll tell you. He'll tell you what to do or where to go. No. Or you know, a lot of the fellas like to drive. You know. And if they have the spare time during the week to drive all the way to Calgary and back, I mean, that's a 6-hour trip, you know. Plus you're riding with the musicians and you get to know them, you know. We had one longtime volunteer, Alan. He just went to Swift Current to pick up Nancy King and Steve Christofferson, who had played in Regina. And so the Regina people drove to Swift Current and we drove to Swift Current and met in the middle. And he drove back with them, and now he says, you know, they're real close and good friends and stuff along that line. So you get to know the musicians, which is really exciting to a lot of people, you know, to know that. Especially if you're musically inclined yourself. Then you can talk music to them. These people are highly professional, you know, and they love to talk about their job, just like everybody else.
Yeah, what an amazing opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what would you say might be your favorite volunteer position that you've had so far?
Well, this is all I've ever done, is this part, you know. I don't mind counting money, I really don't. So I really like that. And I do enjoy sitting on the board of directors and help form this, because I'm a true believer in the community spirit of Jazz Fest. And Lyle Rebick has put together a wonderful thing for this city. Sometimes I wonder if the city really appreciates that. I know the people who come to see the shows really appreciate it. I'm talking about at other levels, shall we say, because it is a jewel for this city. It truly is. And I mean, talk to any of the musicians and they will tell you they just love to come to Medicine Hat. Why? Because it's not like they drive or fly into a big city. They have to take a taxi to their hotel. They have to fend for themselves meal-wise. You know, it's just another hotel room to them. Here, it's like home. They can relax knowing they're going to get at least one good meal, you know, one good home-cooked meal, which isn't store-bought food, you know, and stuff like that. And it doesn't cost a fortune because you're at a fancy restaurant or part of the hotel or something like that. They love coming here. They truly do. And they return in kind. We give them nice home feeling, and they return that in kind, and they feel like they're at home. Andy McKee was through here last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember. A YouTube sensation, you know. We packed the place in here, and first thing he says, I love this town. It reminds me of my hometown in Kansas, you know. I mean, he'd only been in town for an hour, you know, but he already had that feeling, you know. I mean, so working with those kind of people and getting that kind of community spirit going, that's what I really enjoy about it. And I like to count the money.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Tom.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Now, remember, Jazzfest happens every year, and you can get involved too. You just gotta say that you're willing to volunteer and choose something that you are passionate about, or maybe you're curious about. Maybe get to know some of the artists by driving. And remember, we're a volunteer community, so get involved.